How do I get started? Taking on that question and much more on this episode of the Rise to the Top podcast. And welcome, my friends, to the Rise to the Top podcast. It's your great and good friend, David Siteman Garland, a.k.a. DSG. And we've got yet another coaching episode here of the podcast where I bring on students of mine to ask anything, anywhere where I can help give feedback or insights. And what we've realized from these episodes that people really resonate with them because maybe you're having the exact same problem, or maybe you're not, but maybe you could still learn something from it. There's something for everyone in these coaching episodes. So today we're going to do something a little interesting. Is Ben James is going to be joining me in a second from England. I feel like we've had a lot of English folks here, British folks on the show lately. So that's pretty cool. I think it's just because I like the accent, right? So Ben's coming on the show, and what he wants to know is he's got a day job right now, and his ultimate goal is to be out of this day job in the future, making a full-time living online through online courses, through his own brand, and he's just getting started. He's still working on trying to kind of validate ideas, what direction he wants to go on. How does he get going with this? And this is a very common situation. Maybe you're sitting there right now at a day job, or maybe you're not, and you're thinking, I want to start something from scratch. I've got so many ideas in my head. How do I choose which one to go? And then how do I move forward? So how do I get started? Without further ado, let's bring on Ben. Let's see if we can help solve it here on this episode of the podcast. All right. Well, now Ben is joining me here on the podcast. Mr. Ben James, how are you?
I'm well, David. Yeah, thank you.
And by the way, you were just saying right before we started recording, you are recovering right now. What are you recovering from?
That's true, yeah. So it's a right ACL and medial meniscus operation. A week ago, Tuesday.
Okay, a week ago. So you are, feet up here, ready to go, or leg up on the ground, ready to go for this coaching session, right?
That's it, yeah. Yeah. Time off work, time to talk, which is great.
Love it. And where are you coming from today? Where are you coming from?
So I'm in a place called Worcester over in the UK.
Okay, awesome. So I'm looking forward to this because this is going to be really interesting that you are in a position a lot of people are in. Tell us a little bit about kind of who you are and what you do right now as we kind of start to dive into kind of getting started with your online business and your online world.
Yeah, so I'm in medical sales at the moment. I would say, I guess like a lot of people, that it was never something that I had ambitions specifically to do and never really knew what I wanted to do after school. I did a degree, did well, did some work in pharmaceutical sales, hated it, went back and trained as a chiropractor, and then hated being stuck in a room all day, and kind of reached a crossroads, got back into medical device sales, a bit more tangible in terms of what it offered and what you got in terms of achievement, I guess, day to day. But it's never really been what I've wanted to do. So, over the past few years, like a lot of people read the Tim Ferriss books and all those kind of things that kind of make you realize that there are other options, other paths. But I guess my big frustration is I've got a few different ideas, and I'm making that in that kind of dangerous position, I suppose, of I'm so desperate to kind of move out of the day job that I'm not really focused on one thing, because I'm almost want to know it's going to work before the off. And then that puts you in a difficult position because you get a little bit down the path and then you're not really 100% focused on an idea, So it's kind of, my struggle is real validation and quick validation so that I can feel confident in an idea, because I'm almost thinking, well, if it doesn't work out, then I'm stuck in the day job. So therefore, do I do something aligned to the day job, sales support, for example, because I've had some success on that, some success on LinkedIn, and go down that route. So maybe if it doesn't work out, then I can look at something like sales training jobs and things as the next step to get me out of the day job, if you like. Or do I focus on something where my background in chiropractic experience there and exercising and things, which is a passion of mine? Yeah, if it doesn't work out, then I'm still stuck in the day job, but I haven't upskilled myself in something else, if that makes sense,
Yeah,
So
yeah, I got it. There's a lot to obviously unpack here, and we're gonna dive in. We're gonna have a lot of things to talk about here. Quick question though, as we get started with this, and this is very important, is and you mentioned a couple keywords there about that. What would you say about kind of that you need to do something kind of quickly, et cetera? We'll kind of face that in a few minutes, but it all starts with a very strong why. I mean, what is your vision? why is having an online business and specifically a course, what's your big why? Like, why do you want to do this?
So there's a couple of elements to that for me, and that is, one is that, I realize that we're all conditioned to be on this path of go to college, get a degree, go to university, get a job, work your way up the career ladder, and yet you're a slave to businesses more so now than ever. So I want to create more freedom without a shadow of a doubt. I don't want to answer to other people. I want to be my time under my own control is the reason behind it. And I think, I've read a lot about Simon Sinek and What's Your Why. So there's a kind of element of me that is my kind of why is to help people feel significant so they're more confident version of themselves. So that's kind of my why. But the reasoning behind wanting to do this is certainly freedom.
Right. I always feel like that's my American Idol question. It's like when they come up on stage, they're like, "Tell us the dream," right? That's what they always say. That's what they say on there, and that's exactly true. Because you need something important, and what I'm hearing from you is that, listen, you want to be your own boss. You want to have the time, flexibility, freedom. You want to have a business that you enjoy, right? It sounds like you are very ready to try to get out of where you're working right now.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, very determined. But someone once asked me, are you a secure person? And I was like, yeah, I'm a confident person. They were like, no, are you a secure person? And I was like, well, what does that mean? And they were kind of like, well, do you need reassurance? Do you need reassurances that things you're doing are right and what you're doing you're doing well? And I was like, yeah, to be fair, I do. And I think maybe that's an element that's holding me back. I'm almost waiting for someone to look over my shoulder and say, yeah, that's a great idea. Go with it.
Right. Right. I get what you're saying. And first of all, just from our short conversation here already, one, you definitely have the personality to do this, regardless of what topic you have, right? Because, you're very well spoken, you're very clear, you bring a good energy to it. That's a huge positive, right? You've got a very strong why, another huge positive. The thing that I would also suggest as we dive into this is you got to realize one thing that's very important, because I don't want to blow smoke up your butt, right? It will take a decent amount of time to get enough footage to basically get momentum going, which then leads to more momentum, which leads to more sales, more happy customers, et cetera, down the line. And then maybe there's some kind of income goal that you could hit that would allow you to say, hey, you know what? I can take a hike from my job now, right? So you got to realize, one of the things that you said, which I think was very important, a little bit telling, was you talked about validation and how you're trying to kind of race to validate to a certain degree. And I would almost say you got to take a little bit of a deep breath there, because it's going to be important to set this foundation, which I'm very confident we're going to figure out today on this call, but then realize it's going to take some time. Do you know what I mean? I would love to tell you it's going to be X days, X months, or whatever it might be before you could just, go in there and do some kind of epic quitting of your job, right? But, burning a paper, something very dramatic I'm picturing, right? But, realize that this is going to set you up for long-term success. So I would almost be more concerned about, let's see if we can get this right versus let's see if we can get this fast. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think back to that, it's kind of, if I get that validation and confidence, there's almost that reassurance, right now I'm okay, because I don't need to worry so much about being stuck there forever, because I know I'm confident it's going to work, and therefore I can just enjoy the journey, Sure.
And another thing to keep in mind too, and I 100% agree with you, another thing to keep in mind too is let's just say for sake of argument, I always like to look at worst case scenarios, right? Worst case scenarios. Let's just say we choose a topic here. We kind of figure out which direction you want to take, and we kind of develop a little strategy here on this call. And then let's just say it doesn't work out for whatever reason. You realize you hate the topic. No one some kind of disaster happens down the line. Realize that you can then take that experience to then move into other areas as well. So you're not necessarily tattooed in there for the rest of your life. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you are, sometimes you aren't, depending on what direction you go, but you're not stuck forever. So meaning, I know people that their first topic that they chose and the direction they take is still the one that they do 10 years later. Okay. And I also know someone or lots of people that, maybe they did something and it was kind of like a little false start or something like that. They did it for a year or two or even less and then moved on to something else. And then that was the big success. Right? So you got to realize that either way there, but it's just about getting that traction and the momentum. So let's break down the directions you are thinking about going and why? Because you mentioned them a little earlier. I think this is very important because one of the key things is you want to get off on that right foot. You don't want to just be spinning wheels, doing random content, random things. Where do you see where you could build your brand around? What different topics?
So there's a couple of things that I'm trying to focus in on, and I guess my varied background kind of gives me a few ideas, which isn't always helpful, but is also, good opportunity. So one thing that I noticed when I came out of chiropractic college was I was taught what to do and confidently could treat patients, but there was absolutely no support in terms of how you're going to get those patients and run a business. So I worked as a chiropractor for 18 months. I had a lot of success with kind of getting out and talks and public speaking to groups to generate interest and educate patients or educate potential patients, audiences, to then influence them to come in and have treatment. So there's a path there that also kind of aligns to that significance, because I didn't feel significant when I was first in practice. I thought no one's interested, no one's coming into the clinic, and therefore it kind of aligns to a lot of the things that I want to achieve and help people and get that significance. And also there seems to be an opportunity to help people in an area that they're just not supported in and they don't have any background training in. And obviously with the sales experience I've got and the success I've had on LinkedIn and some other channels to a lesser degree, there seems like a good path to helping not just necessarily chiropractors, osteopaths, physios, and other healthcare professionals that are in private practice. And then the other side of it is, when I was a chiropractor, that a lot of patients would ask about a lot of exercises and things, and there doesn't seem to be anything there that really is out there to support them in that, patients in that area, in terms of having time in a clinic and things. So it's kind of two paths there.
So I'm taking notes here because we're going to go through some exercises to figure out which one's the best here. So what I'm getting here, just to repeat back, make sure I got it right, is you've got a business of so you were you were in chiropractor business, right? You're saying. So on one hand, you have kind of a sales oriented thing for chiropractors. Would that be fair to say? Like we're bringing how to get more customers, basically, right? How to get more customers. And then your other one is kind of exercise type. So more of something for patients of chiropractor. So patients. So exercises, things like that, corrective stuff for there. So that's like a direct to patient. Okay. Now, what else? I want to get them all out on the table, and then we're going to kind of do like a little exercise to help find like which one is the way we're going to go.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been trying to focus on the former first of all, and I've kind of called it the educational sell, because I can see that the buyer's journey has changed so much, and the internet has influenced that. Everyone's doing their research online. Even if you're going to go to a local chiropractic clinic, you're going to check them out online first. So, and because my most recent experience is in sales, and I like to do public speaking, and that's something I'm confident with, it's something that I feel kind of aligned to what I'm doing now, and therefore it is more familiar at this time, if you like.
Right. But wait, is that different than what we just talked about, or is that the same thing? So you're talking about...
Yeah, about helping the chiros with patient generation.
Okay, got it. So we got chiro's getting patients, direct to patient kind of training. And then did you mention, was there any other ideas that you're working on, or were those kind of the top couple ones?
So they're really the top two, to be honest. I haven't really focused on anything else of late. There've been random ideas over the last couple of years, but those are the two that I've kind of focused and saying, do you know what, this is where my knowledge lies. This is where the successes have been. So therefore you've got something to offer without feeling like you're doing something without the results. Now,
is there something that you're more passionate about? If you're to break it down, like, because I think there's a pretty clear path here, but I want to make sure to ask a couple key questions here. So, because, it's funny that I could say, hey, this is which one you should go with, right? I could sit here and be like, here's what you need to do. And we're going to end up that way. But what if you hate doing that by accident? You know what I'm saying? What if that's something you don't really like? Because I know there's things that I am good at, or I know a lot about, that I don't really want to teach or focus my time on. Do you know what I mean? And I also know there's things that I love that I could spend all my time on, but might not be a profitable business. Do you know what I'm saying? So there's finding that middle ground, because you might love this, you might hate this, but you've got to really start with a passion. And by the way, passion, which is a word that's thrown around a lot, will also develop even more with success a lot of times. Do you know what I mean? As long as you really enjoy it, success, of course, kind of accelerates that as well. Like, meaning once you start getting some traction and some things going, you're like, oh my God, this is even better than I thought. So with that being said, I mean, do you have a passion for that sales and business side of chiropractic healthcare professionals' work?
I think if I'm honest, the passion comes from the helping the people, I guess.
Meaning passion is in helping the doctors or helping like patients, or not matter?
Terms of, it kind of doesn't matter, I guess. If I was to really sit there and think about all the study and learning from chiropractic and sports science, I find it fascinating. Loved learning it. And at the same time, I enjoy reading around kind of sales processes and fascinated by digital marketing. So the kind of content, I couldn't say, do you know what? Love that, hate that. It's more the passion, though, is around the helping and the getting the results for those people. So whether it's the patients getting better with the exercises or the chiropractors getting more success, that's kind of the passion.
I totally understand that. I can relate to that. I mean, meaning it's a case of like, wake up in the morning and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, I love how the chiropractor with my advice got 10 new patients. Or I love how seeing this guy who had this back problem is now playing soccer, football as you call it, right? Over there, so I get it. And that's a key thing. I mean, there's no successful long-term course creator that doesn't come from a place of really wanting to get people results, right? And these days are done of these kind of sketchy internet marketers, let's just call them, where they were just trying to move in for the fast dollar and didn't really care about customers. They didn't care about results. Like, they would have said, my passion is just like, I'm trying to make as much money as I can in a short period of time, right? And then guess what? They're out of business. Do you know what I'm saying? So coming from that is definitely the right standpoint. Now, what I always like to say is this: if you were to bring, so like for the chiropractor business, by the way, my biased opinion here, just listening to you talking about both these, I think the direction, if all things being equal from your level, like you don't have a better love for one or the other, I think you're looking at the most successful thing is going to be helping these chiropractors with their business.
Okay.
I mean, bar none.
Yeah.
Because there's a tremendous opportunity there. You bring credibility, you bring a sales background. Now, the only thing that would be stopping you from that is that if you just didn't want to do that. Seriously, right? Because I know there's definitely a market there.
Yeah. And I mean, the last couple of days I've been getting out there and trying to do some more research on websites, and there's definitely some out there which kind of is good in that there's a market there, and I've been trying to get in touch with colleagues or former colleagues, shall I say, and students, colleagues that are in the business, and some are skeptical because they tend to be that way, and some are really quite optimistic about the idea and the opportunity, and there's other people out there and things. So there's a bit of validation there over the last week I've really tried to focus on with that. So, and
I think so. If you were to look at this too, I always ask, like, what's your X factor, or what's the secret sauce that you would bring to the table? So if you were to kind of focus on this, let's start with a kind of a generic thing, which would be what chiropractic market, boy, is that a mouthful? Chiropractic marketing or getting more clients, right? That's the end of the day. That's what this would be about, right? Is getting more clients for chiropractors. Is there a specific way you would go about that? Is there some kind of X factor or things like, what would you actually be teaching them to do? Like what online, is it online? Is it offline? Is it, what would be kind of your secret sauce of teaching?
So I think certainly the speaking side of it, I think that I've always been somebody that's enjoyed public speaking, and really being able to kind of captivate an audience, and got a lot of positive feedback about presentation skills. So I think there's definitely an element there.
Meaning showing chiropractors how to do that as well?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. See, that's brilliant.
And the other side of it is, I think whilst LinkedIn is more B2B, I still think there's an opportunity for chiros there, really untapped potential in terms of getting out there and getting reputation in terms of the kind of social selling side with local businesses. Because there's going to be a lot of businesses in geographical areas, but they're always focused on the individual. Whereas if they focus on the businesses and that socially surrounding kind of HR managers and things, then that to me seems like a good opportunity to get some relationships with local businesses and get a steady stream of patients from those businesses, not just looking for the individual, shall we say. And I've used LinkedIn a lot and know a lot about LinkedIn and had a lot of success with that. So that seems like another area that could be of benefit to them.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, because it all kind of falls under the umbrella, though, of being very specific. And we talk about this, as you know, and create awesome online courses all the time, is that you want to be hyper specific in what you're doing for either a specific group of people or through a specific strategy or both, right? So meaning, marketing, or it's not even called marketing really. It's really about getting clients, right? That's what this is. It's about how can you get more clients. That's the problem that you're solving, that I don't see that any chiropractic business would not have that problem, right? Very few are like, you know what, we're just maxed out for the next 10 years. And it's funny because I think about this because I went to a chiropractor for a while, a couple of years ago, and the way that I met him was that he would put on a free clinic at a gym that I happened to go to, right? And he came in and he spoke for an hour. It was like a mobility clinic, they called it. And we do squats and we do different things, and he'd show people different things. And it's funny that was basically a sales funnel for him, right? Meaning he'd come in, he did a clinic for free. He spoke to the gym. He was great. I took his card. And then later on when I had a little problem, he popped to the top of mind. Do you know what I mean? But I feel like a lot of people don't have those types of skills, be either online or offline. And that could be something that you could definitely teach.
Yeah. And I think email as well is another one. I certainly, when I was in practice, it wasn't something that we adopted. And how do you continue that relationship? Once that patient's left the clinic, you've got a phone number, but can you deliver some content? Can you get some some campaigns going that just immediately offer some added value once they've left the clinic? Follow up immediately with, I don't know, some relaxation exercises, et cetera, that just keeps that message from the off, rather than hoping they're just going to come back 2 days later or a week later for the next appointment.
So I really like this. I mean, do you feel confident in this topic?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of success with. I've had some success with email, because I can see in my own industry where we're still way behind as well in terms of contacting nurses and other clinicians with very traditional techniques, and trying to reword emails and provide value within those emails to make them open them, or make them more likely to open them than just the generic "can I come and see you" kind of approach. So it's something that I'm very interested in, again, in terms of this whole kind of online marketing sphere. It's something that I've been doing a lot of work with over the last year to get a bit more confidence with. But it's certainly something, if I could develop my skills, then I'm sure I'm more confident with it than a lot of practitioners.
Yeah. I mean, I really like this. And I love the idea of, we always talk about this too in CAOC, and I'll mention this again here, is drawing a line in the sand of who this is all going to be about, meaning your entire brand. And I love that you focus on chiropractors. Like you mentioned also other healthcare professionals. I wouldn't even worry about that. I would focus on chiropractors, period. Do you know what I mean? And by having that hyper niche, that's where you start seeing success, because I've seen people have it with dentists or different groups of people. You can bring then this kind of different marketing knowledge and your sales stuff, but you're just going to tailor it towards that group of people, right? Because then think about that. If they're looking for help on online marketing and they see generic online marketing or offline marketing or any way of getting customers, for small business or for this or that, and then they see you that's specifically working with chiropractors, what do you think they're going to choose?
Yeah.
And so I think it's 100% a no-brainer.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
And what would be, working backwards on it, what would be kind of your course? What would you see the course being about, or your first course with this?
I think there's certainly, in my mind, some different modules there that are already kind of been kind of taking place and forming in my mind in terms of introduction to these concepts, which I think is still something that they're not trained in. And then kind of segmenting it down to the different platforms, like the LinkedIn, like the email, like the speaking, and kind of break those core areas down specifically into different modules, because I think there's a lot of potential content within each of those, storytelling, et cetera, for public speaking, where you're going to go, who you're going to speak to, who you're going to target, et cetera. That's how I would see it kind of becoming a course, if you like.
Yeah, I like that. And I think what it almost becomes in that course is that it's a system, but it's almost like you can, I don't want to say choose your own adventure type of thing, but it's if you can lay out a few different strategies, but also not overwhelm people, right? Because you don't want to be like, here's 50 strategies, like you want to say like, here's a few. And by the way, all you have to do is even implement one to start increasing your client base, right?
Yeah. No, I get the point. Yeah. Because I've been trying to create an ebook, and you kind of think, well, I need to offer loads of stuff in there and cover loads of different things. But like you say, you could create overwhelm, and then, you're putting people off because there's just too much, right?
Right. Like you have to say, for example, like I'm making up the number here, but like here are the top 3 ways right now of being able to get clients, right? Or top whatever, 5. But you only want to choose 1 or 2 at a time to focus on. Meaning I'm talking about from a chiropractor's perspective, meaning saying like, hey, listen, I'm going to lay out these 3 strategies step by step, every possible thing you need to do. Here's the complete blueprint for getting more customers, right? But the challenge that you're going to have is, hey, go through all the strategies and then choose, 1 to start on or 2 to start on, right? And that's how I think you're going to really help get people results. And so I think that's a good idea with that in general.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. I think the one element that's sticking in my mind with this is I'm doing the sales now, so I should therefore be confident in the knowledge and success. A few people that know I'm not actually specifically a chiropractor anymore kind of challenge back that, why are we going to listen to you? Now you're not a chiropractor.
Well, who said that? Has anyone actually said that?
Well, not in so many words, to be fair. I guess it's probably, in fairness, my interpretation of what they've said rather than them actually directly saying it,
Yeah, well, F those people. Who cares?
Right.
Just go in there and say this. Hey, this is why I developed the system. This is why I enjoy working with chiropractors. This is what I did. You know what I mean? That all comes down to your story and why this is important for you and why you enjoy helping them, right? And if someone's like, well, you're not blah, blah, well, who cares? Move on. Do you know what I mean? Because really what it's going to come down to is how you're offering value to these folks, right? And also that you can also tell your story of your sales experience and your chiropractic experience. That's all in your story. That's plenty of credibility, right? So I would, F those people. Number 1. Number 2 is, I think, a good place for you too. What are you going to do as a free giveaway?
So I've been developed an ebook really just to kind of give that story, give that background of you guys aren't trained in this. We're sent out there. We've got the experience, but then how do you get the patients? How do you get the business? What's your long-term kind of marketing plan for, new patients? Yes, you want to retain a certain percentage of your existing patients, but you're never going to retain them all. So you're going to need new patients. And then the background story of the frustrations I had, and then build into the successes I've had within sales, the speaking and talking a little about that and giving away some value around those different subjects without obviously giving the step-by-step, how do you actually use those platforms? Because that would be 2 books, 3 books worth of information that no one's going to read and implement all of that. So it's kind of the kind of hook to give the background, the story and the justification for it. And then where I've had some successes with those platforms. And for the LinkedIn, for example, I was just giving them a link to a free video I've created for optimizing their LinkedIn profile and a little bit of background on that, because I can see for sure that a lot of chiropractors are on LinkedIn, but their profiles are horrendous and they're just not using it and using that platform at all, which I think is untapped potential for sure.
Got it. And you sent me like a few links here to like some lead pages you were setting up, which you said were kind of a work in progress. And what I'm seeing with this is as you kind of think about putting these things together, you have to keep the end goal in mind, which is going to be all about helping chiropractors get more clients. Period. Like write that down, tattoo it on your arm, put it up on a whiteboard, like stick it on a sticky note on your computer, and that should be everywhere. Everywhere, right? And so meaning when I see here, like you had a couple things, and again, I know these are all work in progress. You had things like on here, like helping grow a personal brand and a patient list. Do you know what I mean? That's okay. But let's really focus on like, here's how to get more clients as a chiropractor, right? Like here's the mistakes you're making. So I would say for your giveaway, which I think would be your next step before, is really thinking about, I like the ebook idea. Obviously with ebooks, you run into risks that people don't read them, right? Which happens too. So I would have a couple thoughts. One, on the ebook, again, really make that centered around, this is going to be all about showing you how to get more clients. And by the way, exactly, like in there, you could mention what the strategies are and even give a tip, but you're not going to walk through it step by step, right? That's the course. So people always get confused about that. It's like, okay, well, you can tell them, like, here's the 3 areas you should focus on, right? Or 5 areas. And then you can even give a piece of advice with each area and why it's important. But then later on, that's going to lead towards your course, right? Another thing you could also do too is just something real simple. a giveaway like a cheat sheet or a little tiny guide or something that's like a quick win that talks about the key areas that chiropractors aren't thinking about when it comes to getting more customers or untapped resources or things they need to focus on.
Yeah, makes sense.
Which I think would be great, because then I'm thinking if I'm scrolling through, let's say I'm scrolling through Facebook and I see an ad, let's just say, and I'm a chiropractor and it says like, hey, chiropractor, here's, want more clients? Here's 3 ways to get more clients that you might not, or more clients that you probably haven't thought about. Yeah, I tell you right now, I'm clicking that. I mean, what the hell? What? There's 3 ways? What way? And I just came up with 3. That's the number I came up with. But I'm saying then what you want to do is you want to keep a number that's manageable but not crazy. Like you wouldn't want to be like 57 ways to get more clients, right? Because then people are like, I don't think so. But thinking about that way and just keeping it so simple like that, then whatever that download is, it's an ebook, it's a quick cheat sheet, it's a guide. You're going to start building your email list that way. Period. And so I think that's going to be your next thing, is really focusing on hammering down that copy, kind of the look of the brand, the feel of the brand, that kind of stuff, getting your photo on there, whatever you want to do, but really having that strong value statement of this is how we help chiropractors. And this is why I do it, Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I think what kind of, I guess, list building things, because I'm focused on LinkedIn, but the problem I've got with that at the minute, not trying to throw in and kind of excuses, is the day job at the minute. There's a challenge for using LinkedIn as a platform, because I thought that would be a great one to link into Kairos and deliver content and et cetera, et cetera. But then I've obviously got my personal job and all the contacts at work, which makes that a bit of a challenge. So have you found, people LinkedIn have Facebook ads maybe is a good one, and quizzes and things like that to give away that ebook would be a
I mean it starts with, it's funny because I don't know if you know this actually, Ben, I just talked about it very recently on the Facebook. I'm working on behind the scenes of doing a new course that's all about like building your brand from scratch and getting your first 1,000 people on your email list, right? And if you look at it, I actually have it. It's funny that as we do this conversation, it's literally mapped out on my whiteboard on my left, to my left, right here. And I look at this and I say, okay, well, what are the steps that someone needs to take, right, for the very basics? The first thing is being clarity about what you're doing and your branding and all that kind of stuff. And you have that now, who you're targeting and what you're helping them with, right? The next step is what's my giveaway? And making that a really cool, dynamic page that people are interested in. Do you know what I'm saying? Like getting your photo, getting some good copy on there and making that an interesting page, and you have a giveaway, right? And then it simply becomes, let's get the right traffic to that giveaway. Now, you have in Listapalooza many different strategies that you could use for this. It just depends on the time or money factor. Now, first of all, LinkedIn, which is a strategy that David Newman teaches in Listapalooza about the article sharing in the groups in there. That would be great for chiropractors. But like you said, I don't know, is there rules with your employer? Like, how would that work? I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a challenge because, I mean, I've put it on like the company name I've kind of come up with initially, just put it on there, and I could see someone from HR had a look. But at the same time, it's kind of positioned more. The problem is I've positioned it a bit more as I don't want to say hobby, but it kind of in that way, so they're not looking and going, hang on a minute, what's he doing working for these guys? Because he's got a full-time job. So what's going on there? So there are a lot of guys, that senior management, that are linked in with me from the company. So it does make it a bit of a challenge if I'm doing specific or a lot of content specifically for chiropractors. If it's around kind of the social selling and the educational selling, then it's a bit more generic. It's aligned to my job, and therefore I'm kind of okay. But
right, but then it's the catch-22. You do the generic stuff, you're not going to get any traction. You're still going to be at the job, right? We'll have the same conversation 5 years from now, right? So I don't want to have that. So that's up to you to kind of figure that out. And I don't know your specific work policies. I don't know if it makes sense to go in there and talk to someone about it. I don't know. That's up to you. But, yes, I mean, if you look at something, Facebook ads, of course. And by the way, we've had plenty of people have massive success with online business and online courses while having a day job with lots of rules and regulations and things too. So don't let it hinder you. Do you know what I mean? Like meaning it's almost becomes a case of a mindset thing of like, okay, I'm going to figure out a way to make it work. type of thing? Because I feel like people, you've seen this before. People come in like, oh, I can't because there's some regulation, or I can't because of this. Instead, the attitude's like, okay, well, that's a regulation, but here's something else we could do, or another way of doing it, or another way of looking at it, right? So that is going to be a key for you is having that mindset of saying like, okay, you know what? I'm going to have to work around it, in one way or another to make this happen, right? So what I would do is I would also then go back through Listapalooza and pick 2 traffic strategies that you think are going to be strong for you based on your situation. Do you know what I mean? And I think if you have the budget for it, at least to try it, I think Facebook ads would be something to definitely consider. Right? Also, joining Facebook groups and things like that related to chiropractors would be very interesting.
Yeah, I've been starting to do that a lot more. Yeah,
yep.
So there's a good few out there for sure. So,
and then another thing that I would consider, and again, this all happens though after you have the foundation of having these lead pages and the landing pages and the giveaway up and looking awesome, right? And you have that kind of like little thing. Otherwise, we're just wasting our time with traffic. A lot of people want traffic right away, and it's like, well, and I made this mistake. I just would get random traffic for years before really focusing. Do you know what I mean? And so just choosing, like, once you have that base, it's like, okay, how can I get this in front of as many chiropractors as possible, right? Then is it a case also, are there any chiropractor podcasts, blogs, anything like that you could look into? Do you know what I mean? Meaning, if I Google right now, I'll do it right now. I'm sitting here, chiropractor. Yeah, I guarantee there are chiropractor podcast or something. Do you know what I mean? Podcast. And boom, the evidence-based chiropractor science, the entrepreneurial chiropractor, the evidence-based chiropractor. This is all just like random stuff I'm looking at right now, right? The top 10 podcasts every chiropractor should be listening to. How about that? Right? So another thing to think about is once you have that strong kind of thing that you're going to repeat over and over again, which is like your system for marketing, right? Once you have that, like I have 7 steps to creating, promoting, and profiting from online courses. I've been teaching those 7 steps for years and years and years and years and years and years, right? In different ways, but it all comes down to those steps, right? And the thing is, once you start looking at this, I would start you could go to podcasts or blogs and say, hey, listen, can I come on? I could do an interview. I could share 3 tips about growing a chiropractor practice. I could do this or that. That's another great way. Now, that's more time intensive than Facebook ads, but that's another traffic strategy that I would consider.
Right.
And Facebook ads, though, is a no-brainer.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Yeah, but I think the next steps for you is really going to be hammering that foundation down and making sure everything looks and sounds and feels great. Do you know what I mean? It's like the branding element of just this one awesome page that you're going to be giving something away, your ebook or whatever you're going to end up doing, right? And making sure that this just appeals to the chiropractors and that you're going to also be able to get them to opt in, and then maybe you can send them some weekly content or whatever as you move along here. And I think that's going to start you on the right base. Then it's going to be about choosing the traffic strategies.
Yeah, got it. And would you recommend generally just go, because the links I've sent is kind of it looks a bit more like using lead pages as a bit of a microsite, because I thought, there's got to be a little bit more on there. But do you recommend, starting out one page? That's it.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny because lead pages is fine. I use course cats and conversion cats. Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, they're all different looks, different feels. I actually think like a little microsite with that page is going to be the best way to start. And then, you know what? If you want to add in an about page and things like that, that's fine. But realize if we're talking speed here, right? And we talked about speed earlier. It's funny because it's about speedy action, but also patience, right? It's both. But speedy action here is let's just make one amazing page with a giveaway, right? And I'm talking about like, we got to get a photo of you. We got to get some more information on there. We got to get that big promise on there that we're going to help chiropractors do this. And that value statement, I help chiropractors do whatever, you know what I'm saying? On there, one page, I think is a great way to start. And then you can actually start marketing from there.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, it's a lot more clear.
So how are you feeling about this, Ben?
Yeah, it's exciting. It's like I say, at the beginning, it was kind of like you almost need someone to help you validate the idea, to give you the confidence that, yeah, you're going on the right path, even though when you read about it and you look and you think, yeah, there's podcasts out there, there's sites out there, look at the experience I had as a chiropractor, this makes sense. but it's almost having that discussion through and a little bit more clarity on where you're going next and how to position it, makes a world of difference for sure,
Yeah.
Just makes you think, yeah.
Well, that's no, go ahead. That's exactly what I was thinking. And also what's going to be the challenge, and this is for you and this is for everyone else, right, is you got to avoid the shiny red balls once you get going with this, right? And I've seen this, and I call this like confusion creep, if you will. So meaning like you'll start doing this and be like, you know what? I don't want to do chiropractors. I want to do chiropractors and football players. Do you know what I mean? Or I want to do, and oh, you know what? I'm going to start a podcast tomorrow and I'm going to talk about my feelings, right? Don't do any of that. Don't do anything. I don't think you will, but I'm just saying this because I see this happen. People get the path, they have the blueprint, and then there's distractions that come in. We're going to get, and that's just the world we live in. There's going to be distractions. Someone's going to say, hey, Ben, there's no way you're going to have success unless you're on this new social media platform called, who's a what, right? Who knows? So the key is if you stick with the basics here, great giveaway. Let's get it in front of the right people. Let's validate this and get going from there and build our email list. That's how you're going to have success. And it's going to be avoiding the distractions is going to be just as important.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Because you're a busy guy. You're recovering from knee. You've got a day job. You've got lots of stuff going on. Just focus on what you have to do, which is what we've outlined here.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And it's again, I kind of know those. I know that. And yet I'm too often I kind of get distracted by the success stories. I'm like, yeah, I get confidence from it. So if I'm in the car driving, great to listen to a podcast, but at the same time, it's kind of focus on the doing, which is I've been much better at that recently. But it's clear that that's absolutely required to be successful. Otherwise you procrastinate.
I love it. Well, Ben, we wish you the best of luck with this. This is awesome. Definitely keep me posted. Maybe we could do an update at a later on thing, and just stay the direction, and wish you best of luck. I'm sure you'll be in the CAOC Facebook group too. Keep people posted on your journey, and happy to help along the way. And best of luck with everything. I think you have a great path laid out for you. Now it's just kind of staying with it and realizing, hey, will there be challenges? Will there be issues? Of course there will. But just staying down that path is going to start getting you some great traction.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, awesome.
All right. Well, thanks, Ben. And I was going to say on the way out, we like to give people links and things like that, but you're at the beginning stage. So I don't know if we have a great link to give to folks, but obviously if they can keep apprised, if you're in the CAOC Facebook group, obviously for all the customers, we'll keep you posted in there. And, in the future, if any links come out, we'll make sure to share those as well. Right, Ben?
Yeah, awesome. I'll definitely focus on that landing page, and then I can post it out there and see what the feedback is from the guys on the group, and I'm sure they'll give me some great direction as well, which is awesome.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Ben. I appreciate coming on, and good luck with the recovery, my friend. You'll be out there footballing before you know it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure I will. Thanks, David. I appreciate the input. It's been awesome to talk.
All right, so powerful stuff there with Ben. Wish him nothing but the best of luck. I look forward to an update from him in the future as he gets going with all of this, and just very exciting. I mean, it's exciting. It's nerve-wracking. I'm sure there's that pit of the stomach feeling, but the excitement, the passion, and just the willingness and the strong why are all going to be in his favor, and what it takes to be successful in this business, beyond a doubt. No fluffy bunnies here, my friends. So on the way out, a reminder, you could subscribe to the podcast at therisetotop.com/subscribe. New episodes every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Central come out. You can get them everywhere, all over the place. Also directly on iTunes at therisetotop.com/iTunes. Always appreciate reviews if you enjoy the show. I think what I've been told is if you leave reviews, more people will see it or something like that. I don't know. It's all good. I appreciate the feedback. It's a lot of fun doing these for you. So feel free if you want to leave a review on iTunes at therisetotop.com/iTunes. And by the way, the best place to get started, if you're thinking, okay, what do I do? How do I get started? How do I get down the right path to begin my journey towards a successful online course? The best thing, did I say horse or course there? Course, not an online horse. I don't know what an online horse is. I do know what an online course is, though. Best place to start is with my free training, 7 Steps to Creating, Promoting, and Profiting from Online Courses. You can sign up for that 100% free. Select the time and date that works for you at createawesomeonlinecourses.com. All right, my friends, I will see you next time. This has been David Site McGarland here on the Rise to Top podcast. And remember, if you want some fluff, you know what to do. Go pet a bunny.